this is Becky.
And this is Kayla.
And we're with A Couple of These Read, and we are honored to have an author with us today.
Yes, we have Tobie Carter with us today, whose debut is coming out this week. It is The Bottom Line, and I have read it, and it is amazing. And Tobie, we are so glad you are here with us. Yes.
Yeah. I'm like, my blurred background.
Yeah. See, I prefer the book. I want to touch it, feel it, smell it, all that good stuff.
So
we'll just jump right in here. What we'd like to know, one of the things is, have you tell us about your journey as an author, becoming an author. When did you start writing, and how has your writing changed over the years?
Yeah, sure. Well, first, thank you for having me. I started writing in 2018. Prior to that, I was going to school for sign language interpreting. And I'm originally from the East Coast, but my husband's in the military. So we moved from the East Coast to Texas, and the closest sign language interpreting degree to me is like 4.5 hours away. I was like, oh, that doesn't work. And then we had kids. And while my husband was deployed, one night I was rocking my, then I think she was like 2 years old, my 2-year-old daughter. And I was scrolling through Instagram, and I'd seen somebody post a picture of the Lock Bridge in Paris.
Yes.
And like all of a sudden a story like kind of popped into my head. And I was like, oh man, like when did I watch that, or when did I read this? And for weeks I like tried to hunt down this book that in my head was so clear. And after like 4 or 5 weeks, I was like, is this a story? Like, should I be writing this story?
Right.
So I sat down and wrote a story, and I was like, okay, now what do I do? And thankfully I had met, I don't know, I think I got on Twitter, and I met somebody through the community that kind of really helped guide me into the writing community.
Right.
So I started as a thriller mystery writer, and in 2020 and 2021, both my husband and I lost a brother. And so we like encountered a lot of loss kind of back to back to back. So I took a step back from suspense writing, murder, all of that. I was like, I can't handle it right now. And my thrillers and mysteries always had a romantic subplot. So I was like, let me see if I can write another genre. And so I kind of flowed into the romance area and found a community there. And so I've done both for the past couple of years.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know I met you through Thrills and Chills on Twitter. So I was surprised when I read your book, and it's such a good romance.
Thank you.
So let's see. So how do you come up with your ideas for novels from concept to finished product?
Oh, so I know I'll probably get a lot of hate for this, but I'm one of those people that there's no like end to the amount of stories in my head. So, it's not like I'm like, okay, I don't know if I have another book in me. Like, I know I have at least 60 books in me, because I have this idea on my, like this notebook on my phone where I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. So sometimes it I want to say like comes to me organically. Like I'll be driving and a leaf will fall on my windshield, and I'm like, man, could you imagine if that was the last leaf to ever fall?
Oh.
And it's like a story. It's like, holy, like, whoa, that's a story, So, I'd say that's kind of how, I just, whatever story comes to me. But as far as how we get them from an idea to an actual story, I usually kind of pick between 2 or 3 stories that are kind of rolling around in my head, and I write my query first.
Oh.
Just to see if I have a grasp on any story. So I'll like write 3 queries for stories that are in my head, and then I'll shoot them to my mother-in-law and my mother and a few people like in my writing group, and I say, which one seems the clearest to you? Which one is the most interesting to you? So that I kind of have be like, okay, yeah, this is the one I need to work on. And from there, I just make sure I have my internal and external GMCs kind of laid out before I ever start like actually outlining. And then I just started outlining a year or two ago. I used to be a pantser, and my writing's obviously much better now that I outline it. But from there, I just kind of jump into it.
Okay. Awesome. Well, and kind of going along that way, time management can be a struggle for people in any profession. It's just something we struggle with. But what's your schedule like as a writer, and how do you maximize your writing time?
Oh, so
You have kids, so I know that's a challenge.
yes, I have a few kids. I do have I don't know, he's not even a newborn anymore, but I do have a couple-month-old who right now kind of takes all of my time. Prior to that, where I have kids in school, I had immense time during the day where I can just write. I could write a book in 3-4 weeks, and I can't do that anymore. So I usually get up in the morning, get my tea, get the baby set up, get them fed, and then I'll write for about 2.5 hours during his nap time, wake up, do whatever. But most of my writing time is during the day. Okay. And then nighttime when the kids come home, we get them set up with homework, snacks. I'll write for a little bit, get them down for, bed. And then if I have the energy, I will write, maybe an hour at night. But those old days of staying up until midnight and 1 o'clock writing are gone. So I try and get as much done then.
Oh, that's good.
And this one kind of goes back to something we mentioned previously. What professional writing organizations do you belong to, and which ones would you recommend to other authors?
Ooh, so I do not belong to any professional writing organizations. I used to be a part of the Writers League of Texas, but a lot of their events ended up being like a good bit away from me, and with young kids, I just wasn't able to. But of course, I'm part of I would say the Thrills and Chills community, so that's what I take part in most of the time.
I consider them professional.
Yeah, you would say that, and I mean, I do. There's a San Antonio Writers Guild, just for like obviously the people here. So I try and get involved as much locally as I can, and then of course the Twitter community.
Okay. Well, and kind of playing on that a little bit, also, how do you look at building a writing community? Because I know with Kayla, I've watched her. She has beta readers, and then she has these different critique groups she's with, and she's kind of reached out, and people have reached out to her. And I think that's really important, for authors and for writers to have that base. How do you look at that?
So I'd say writing community is hands down the biggest thing you need as a writer. I mean, yes, the words, are always going to be there, but having people who are going to be able to read those words and help you work through your stories is paramount. As far as how to find a writing community goes, of course, Twitter or X has always been the place where writers go. I mean, I know that now there's Threads and Blue Sky and a million other things, TikTok and whatnot, but I feel like finding the writing community on Twitter was essential for me, and posting about the things that you enjoy and the types of books you like. I feel like the algorithm is going to help push people into where you need them to be to kind of link up. As far as, of course, beta readers you can find on Twitter, Discord, pretty much anywhere, Facebook. But as far as like critique partners go, I think that's a little bit more of I want to say more important, because those are the people that you're really going to need to build community with. Like, you need to find people that you trust, that, you trust their feedback, they trust yours, that can kind of help guide and encourage you throughout the whole, I want to say, writing, whether you're doing self-publishing or traditional publishing. Both have their kind of hurdles that you need people behind you to push. I found my critique group through the podcast, the shit no one tells you about writing.
Yeah.
They do like two times a year. They do like a big critique partner beta reader matchup. So I kind of found one through there. And but as far as the writing, that was more for my suspense writing. For my romance writing, I had to find that kind of like organically, where I did a Kiss Pitch mentor program, and then I found some people through that, and like Rev Pit, all of those kind of mentorships programs. They have the like weeks before where they're like, hey, meet some of the other people that you're going through this with. And I found a good bit of writing friends through that.
That's cool.
Awesome. So, moving back to your book, which I absolutely loved.
And I'm going to read. I haven't read it yet.
Very well. But I absolutely love this book. And one of my favorite things about it, you've got these two amazing main characters. Mm-hmm. And I don't read a lot of romance. I do the thriller and suspense. And it's probably because I'm not very good at writing romance. Like, ends up being a murderer every time. But what I loved about this is you have these two incredibly realistic characters who have their flaws, and they Stella's doing her best to save her family, to save her grandfather's business. And then you've got Jameson, who has his demons. And I've never seen a character in romance. I've never seen a character where the man was willing to deal with his emotional problems, because he has a lot of mental issues that because of his trauma in his past. So, he's so willing to battle with his mental health. How did you come up with Jameson, and what did writing such a compelling character require? Like, did it require a lot of research? Where did this come from?
Yes. So, like most writers do, we tend to kind of pull from, our lives and the things that happen in them and our experiences. And, so my husband specifically deals with mental health struggles, but being the other part of that is, I'm trying to think of what the word would be. It's an honor to help somebody through this kind of struggle and to know that they can rely on you. So with Jameson, men have this big stigma around mental health, and it's very also prevalent in the Black community that I grew up in. My dad deals with mental health, and a lot of people don't want to deal with it. They don't want to hear about it. They don't want to say, you're a man, you're supposed to be strong. You're supposed to, have it all together. We don't want to know about it, and I think that was a big stigma when going into it, like looking at a character that needed help, but was so scared to get it because of what everybody else thought. And, when I started to do research into something like this, I found out that that boys make up 35% of the mental health struggles that Jameson goes through in the book. But we would never know that because only women are depicted that way. And I just thought it was I thought it was a really big issue. That whenever, we're talking about mental health, and whether it be, in movies, TVs, books, it's only women. Mm-hmm. Even still to this day, 2024, and showing a man, showing any man going through that, it's like, oh, nope, they're weak, and I feel like we might, we like that. We'd like us like, oh, the woman's going to save him, or, he's going to change for the woman. He's going to get help for the woman. And it's like, no, he needs to get help for himself. Mm-hmm. He's got to love himself enough to get help that way. So yeah, I did a good bit of research online, when it came to that particular struggle. And I talked to therapists about it and made sure that I was portraying it in a way that would be appropriate, and to make sure that it wasn't like this character is dealing with like a suicide struggle, because that is very different than what Jameson is going through. And I wanted to make sure that I was making that clear enough to, to ensure that it also wouldn't be hopefully triggering to somebody who was going through that, but it would be an understanding of what it is. So I think that was the biggest thing, is like, as a society, we teach men to be masculine, mm-hmm. but it's the word masculine is just something we use to describe men. It doesn't say what does it mean to be masculine, and where I come from, masculine is somebody, yes, they're strong, but they know that sometimes you have to be soft. Being strong sometimes means being the weaker, person and asking for help. So I think that those were big things that I wanted to approach, that it wasn't, men have to be strong all the time or what we think is strong, because being strong is saying, hey, I can't give 100%. I can only give 80 and I need you to help me with this money.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
And you did that so well. Like I had chills at points reading this. So fantastic job.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah. So what are you working on now?
So I'm working on something, I want to say top secret, but something that I can't quite talk about yet. and I'm also trying to work through a rewrite of that first thriller that I was telling you guys about. Mm-hmm. I've spent many years away from it, and I finally outlined it a couple weeks ago and started like the first couple chapters before this other thing came into play. So once I get done that, I'm going to be trying to work through that, and I'm also working on a Christmas novella, a romance. So kind of bopping back between a thriller and a romance when I have the time.
I love it. I love a Christmas book,
Yeah.
All this collection. And sometimes I go back and read the same ones because as I look at the new ones coming out, it's like, oh, I don't know, but I love to read Christmas books at Christmas time, but just like that. Well, that's great.
So last question, unless there's anything else we want to add, what is your best advice for other writers?
Ooh, I would say two things. One, obviously find a community. That's, yes, you can make it alone, but it's so much better and so much easier to do it with friends. So definitely find a community, and then also write what you want to. I think so many times we get into the kind of mindset that we need to write to trend or what is everybody loving, that type of thing. And, if I would have thought about that with this story, I would have never, put it out there. But even if only one person reads it, that one person might be the only person that it needed to be in their hands. Same thing with this story. I know it won't be for everyone, but I hope that it'll give that, perspective to people, and you'll be able to see those people in your life and kind of aid in that sense. So definitely write what you want to, when you want to, and just enjoy the journey.
That is awesome.
Thank you so much. And this book will launch on March 14th.
Yes.
And that's Bottom Line. It is such a great read. It's so different than other romances I've read. I just fell in love with these characters. They're so realistic, so well done. And I think it's an important book. Like, I can say it is one of the more important books I've read this year, just because of the topic it deals with. So March 14th, if you haven't already pre-ordered, please go ahead and get that. We are putting the link to Amazon in there, and that is Bottom Line.
There we go.
Carter.
Yeah,
is absolutely phenomenal.
And I'll order a copy. I take her Kindle. We're going to be at the beach together next week, so I could take her Kindle from her, but I'll just order my own copy, and that'll help you, and I'll have my own personal copy.
Yes, we'll take pictures with it.
Oh yeah, we'll send you a picture of it.
Yeah. Awesome.
Thank you again.
Thank you for being here. I just want to say, I'm so sorry for you and your husband's loss, but I also want to thank your husband and you and your family for, his service and his sacrifice to our country. We appreciate you all so much. So thank you.
And is there any last words you want to give our viewers?
Ooh, put me on the spot there. No, yes, buy the book. Really, the biggest thing is that if you do read the book and somebody that kind of pops into your head while you're reading the book, make sure you reach out, that that you get in front of those people and just make sure that everybody's doing okay, and just that's what I would leave it with. Just if you read the book, reach out.
All right. That's great. Thank you so much, Tobie. It was an honor to meet you. Looking forward to talking again later. Bye.
Yes.